Hello everybody, my name is Marloe and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Survival, where in last week's episode we built what you can see behind me, which is in fact my survival base. We started and finished it in one entire video, and I've just now finished reading through the comments on that episode, and I just want to say thank you for all the wonderful things you guys had to say about this build. It was really heartwarming to see everything that you guys had to say, so I really appreciate it. Something I didn't quite finish in last week's video was filling out my storage room with all of my items. I managed to label everything, but I didn't move everything over, and I still haven't. I've been a little bit lazy, but I did see in the comments that a few of you that mentioned what your thoughts were on the signs was that you were actually able to read this better than this in the video. So yeah, you guys have made my decision for me. I think we're going to go with the light grey dye and the glowing sack on the spruce sign for my labeling system. There we go, that is definitely a lot brighter, and yeah, I will not have any trouble deciphering what goes in what chest. So today we're going to be doing some more building, and that is actually going to be taking place up here on top of this mountain peak, and we are in fact going to be building an observatory. Now the reason why I've picked this mountain peak is because it actually has a bit of a natural pathway leading up to it. As you can see with this rock formation, we kind of get this archway so we can fly on through, but it also allows us to walk up to the top of this mountain. Not that I'll probably ever do that, but I think it's just a good spot to place an observatory. Plus, it's quite high in the sky, so if we could actually go stargazing in Minecraft, I think it would be a pretty logical spot for it. Something that I was supposed to mention in last week's episode but just completely forgot was that inside of my base here, there's actually a couple of more spots where we could build something. So under this balcony, as an example, on both of the sides, we have a gap like this, which we could probably figure out a nice way to get to. So if you got any ideas of what we could build in here, let me know down in the comments. And then we have another one behind this staircase. If I break those two slabs, you can see we have this whole area which has not been utilized at all. So I'm thinking possible storage room expansion, but again, if you got any better ideas, let me know as well. This next one is pretty much the one I've just shown you, but I think it's a good solution for possible underground expansion. So if we break these 4 blocks on either side of this entrance room, which is already missing some additions, so these two would actually help break up this open spot that we had on either side. But imagine having a bubble column here, one going up, one going down, all the way underground. Now obviously we just fall into this room at the moment, so we would still have the middle section free to use for possible expansion on the storage room if we wanted to, but I'm thinking this would just be a really good spot to go if we wanted to go down underground and maybe build some farms. But that's going to be saved for a later date. I think the first thing we're going to do in today's episode is just go ahead and get started on that observatory over there. This is actually my first time seeing the observatory from all the way back here. I've been flying around looking at it loads, making sure everything is built correctly, but I've just taken a really far step back whichever one it is, to take a look at this thing, and it looks awesome up there. I'm so happy with how this thing has turned out. Once again, it's kind of a running theme in this series at the moment, but we do have a weird block palette going on: brick, warped blocks, bone blocks, quartz, copper, sandstone. There's a bit of everything, and I actually really kind of love that. It looks really, really cool. So happy with this one. Something I do want to mention quickly is that I'm waiting for these 4 copper blocks to fully oxidize. That's meant to be like the end of the telescope bright in the observatory. I kind of want them to be a different color to the roof. I did try to do some of that over here, but it takes ages. So yeah, at some point in time, that will be fully oxidized, and I'm going to build a bee farm and wax all of my copper. I need to do some of that over here as well, because I want all of this to stay the same and not keep oxidizing and having to wax it or scrape it with my axe all over again. So yeah, bee farm is definitely on the list, but for right now, it's just going to have to be the same and also changing color. You may have also noticed that this observatory is built with even numbers, which is something I try to stay away from just because it's so much easier building with odd numbers. Even just makes it a little bit tricky. But I did that for one reason, and that's purely because of our telescope up here. As you can see, it's actually like really simple what I've done. There's not a really good way to show you this unless I go all the way down and just pillar back a bit here. So all I've done is add in 4 stairs like this in a circle shape. So they're all kind of facing the same direction, and I've gone up by 1 block each time. And then it just gets to look like as much as a cylinder shape as you can make in this game without being absolutely huge. So on a small scale, I'd say I've done a pretty good job there. So if you're making an observatory, maybe try do it at even numbers and use this as the telescope design, because yeah, it's a bit tricky to make something look round when you only have square blocks. Anyway, as you can tell, the interior is very much so unfinished, so super quick, I'm going to whip that up for you guys and then we'll take a look around afterwards. The interior is now done. As you can see, this room probably needs some explaining. It's not exactly obvious what's going on here. Basically, this is going to be a map room. I want to have a giant map in item frames on the floor here. I think maps are one of the best things in this game. I absolutely love making them. Well, I love having them. The process of making them is a little bit tedious, but it'll be worth it when we have a giant map of our world in the bottom floor here. I think that's going to be a really cool addition. And then we just got some nice paintings on the walls with some storage if I need it. And also we have looms for a ceiling, which is something a bit different. This has a really cool underside texture. I don't utilize it enough. But then we can go up the ladders here to the second level, where we basically have a rest room for the scientists, maybe the astronomers working with the telescope. So just got a bed for sleeping in, table and chairs, some storage, jukebox, that sort of thing. You get the idea. But we can open up the doors here and actually go out onto the balcony, which I do really quite like doing. We got a 360 view all the way around the observatory. Getting around is a bit painful. You smack on the railing and the building half of the time. You kind of got to slalom your way through, but I do really like sitting around up here and just looking out onto my world. It's a nice addition. And lastly, we can go up to the top level here where we have our finished finished telescope, which is got a bit of a weird end to it here, but it's just how it's worked out. I basically wanted to have those 4 stairs placed down like that, as you can see, just so we got a bit of a smaller hole in the middle, and then the tinted glass in front of it makes it nice and dark in there. This might not show up the same for you as it does for me, but the center of this gap is kind of like a little bit darker, and it almost looks as though that could be the viewing hole potentially to see out into space. So yeah, that's the finished telescope. I do quite like the addition of the tinted glass. It looks very nice. But over here at the front, we just have a daylight detector with some redstone stuff going on, some reading material, research purposes, I guess. And then lastly, over here, we have a couple of lecterns to write down all of the findings and the readings of the telescope. And then on these 2 trapdoors, we're actually going to make a map of the end. And I think maybe let's do these 2 first before we go ahead and do this giant one down here, because that up there is only 2 maps. This is nearly a stack of maps. So here we are in the end on the platform you spawn in on, and this is actually not where I want to be. I don't want to make a map of the main island here. I actually want to fly out into the void, off into this direction, which is always quite scary. I'm going to get my F3 coordinates so I can watch the Y level to make sure I'm not going to plummet into death. But I want to go all the way out until we start to reach the end islands. And here we are. So this is the area I want to map. Not this one specifically, I just mean having all of the islands kind of dotted around. And hey, look at that, an end city. I actually might mark the coordinates of that if I want to come back and search around later. Always could do with choker boxes and extra elytras. But yeah, if we just pop open one of the maps here, you can kind of see the idea I'm getting at. Now, I'm going to enlarge this to its biggest map potential. Where is my cursor? Why can I not get it on the map? There we go. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to enlarge this so it's a lot bigger, so the islands look much smaller. And then I'm going to make 2 of them, and then hopefully when we place it down, it should look really cool and almost as though it's a photograph of a, I don't know, something in space, maybe just a galaxy perhaps. So I've started making one of the maps, and this does look really cool. It's just taken me an extremely long time to do this alone. We're not even halfway, we're not even a quarter way there. It's scale 1 to 16, and we got 2 of these maps. So maybe if I got a bit more free time later, once I've done everything else I wanted to in today's video, I'll come back and make a big one like this. But for now, I think I want to scale it down just a little bit. There we go, that seems like a more realistic size. The maps are done, I am now flying back home. We're back home and ready to place down the map, so there's the item frames, glow, because I have infinite amount of glow squid ink, I may as well use it. So we need to have one like this, rotated around this way, and the other like that. There we go. Okay, yeah, I could definitely see that being a little bit space themed. I'm actually kind of glad I did the smaller scale, because you can see the tiny little islands. When it got a bit bigger, that was just completely invisible, because the big islands were like the size of these islands. So yeah, not only has that saved me time, but I do actually think I prefer that. So now it's time to do it for down here. Admittedly, it's in the overworld, so I don't have to travel anywhere, but it's also 30 times the amount of maps. I am, however, going to be doing it on the smaller scale, so it shouldn't be too bad, really. Oh, buddy. How awesome does this look? I love maps. They are so cool. Especially when you've got one on the floor. I love the fact that, I think it's only in Java edition, but you can now put item frames on the floor. I mean, you have been able to for quite a few updates now, but it's really cool for maps, because then you can just walk on top of everything and get some super close looks to everything you've built. So thankfully we have managed to fit in most of the mountain range. If I knew it had worked out like this, I probably would have kind of moved everything forward by a couple of maps, so it would have been more centralized, but it's okay, because the observatory here, the thing we're currently stood in, is pretty much smack bang in the center, which I guess is a good aspect to it. But yeah, we have everything we've done so far, which currently isn't a lot. So we have our base over here, which by the way looks really cool. I love the colors on that. We of course have the observatory, we then have our bridge and also our starter home. Then there's a couple of other things around. This is really making me feel kind of ill, I'm sorry. This FOV is throwing me off. A farm's down the bottom here, the village, the giant hole, our cool ruined portal here in this kind of river we had. All very cool stuff. But yeah, let's go back to that so I don't throw up on camera. That's probably not a good thing to include in the video. So that is now the observatory all done, with the exception of the copper that still needs to oxidize. Speaking of which, actually, how is that doing? I think we're nearly there. We're very, very close. Not quite. There's still a couple more that need to go. This is the level that I want it at. But yeah, I'll sort that off camera. It's a tiny part. It's basically all done. And we do still have a little bit of time left in this episode. So I'm going to have a think and see what I want to do with the spare time. It's definitely not going to be to head to the end and make a bigger map. Like I said, I'm happy with the one that we have. Something I could do with getting is a beacon. And I do have looting 3 on my sword, so it probably wouldn't take that long to get the 3 wither skulls and then kill the wither, of course. Because I'm thinking in the next episode, as I mentioned at the start of this episode, we have this kind of bubble column that I want to add in at some point in time, going down underground to make some farms. Well, I've had an idea whilst making today's episode of a farm that I possibly want to build, so if I do end up doing that next episode, I'm gonna need to dig out quite a big area underground, and yeah, a beacon is always a good idea for that. That actually sounds like a pretty good idea, so let's head to the nether, to my nearest fortress, and see how long it takes me to get 3 skulls, and then we'll go kill the wither. Most likely doing it the cheesy way. At some point in time, I'm going to have to move my nether portals around so that it takes me up to the roof of the nether. It's just so much easier getting around that way because, well, you don't have this problem where you completely forget how on earth to get to the nether fortress. I've got the coordinates, but I can't figure out my way of how to actually get there. This looks kind of promising, maybe? Ah, yes, okay, there we go. This is the one we found a couple of episodes ago, I think, right over a lava lake. Yeah, which is actually great for wither skull hunting because it means less spawns all around you, so hopefully, fingers crossed, this won't take too long. Whew, got out of there just in time. Not sure if you guys heard that at the end, but a skeleton shot a zombie pigman, so now they're all mad at me, because yeah, it's definitely my fault. No, not at all. But we got 3 skulls, which is awesome. We're going to go kill the wither in a second, but just want to see how many skeletons that actually took, because it felt pretty quick. 62. Not even a stack of wither skeletons, and we already got 3 skulls. Yeah, considering the percentages, I actually think I got lucky with that one. So yes, I am in fact going to be cheesing this wither fight because I don't want to do it. I mean, I've killed the wither properly enough times. I don't need to prove myself to anyone. I did it in my hardcore series in like episode 3 or 4. I think you guys all know I'm capable of killing the wither if I want to. This purely just saves me time doing it this way. And, you know, complete destruction of a small area in the overworld, and I don't really want to do that in my pretty world. Hopefully I haven't set this up incorrectly. I'm sure if I have, I'll find out very soon, but here we go. Wither seems to be trapped. As I said, we'll find out in a second. It didn't work. It didn't work. I think I might have followed a bedrock tutorial or something like that. Alright, well, I guess I am fighting the wither properly. Give me a second, guys. Why, wither, do you have to be so high up in the air? You're making this incredibly difficult on me. If he could just go down and focus on the Enderman, that would be a lot easier. But no, look at him up there, like a beautifully devastating star in the sky. Okay, that was pretty cool. This isn't really working. I kind of forgot he regenerated health, so I'm going to stick my chest plate on and just try and fight him on the ground with my bow. Hopefully I don't eat my own words here later of saying I don't need to prove myself to anyone about killing the wither and I can do it easily. If I die here, that'd be a little bit embarrassing. Here we go, he's finally decided to show his face. Now is where I can actually kill him. It's taken long enough for him to just get down to my level here, and now he's actually kind of hurting me a little bit. Let's be careful here. Usually, I would bring potions to a fight like this, but obviously I wasn't exactly prepared. I was hoping he would stay in the bedrock, but he did not. Okay, that was a little bit more stressful than I planned. As I said, I wasn't really hoping to fight the wither today because I didn't want to. Long and behold, Minecraft was not having any of that. It all worked out in the end though, because we have got ourselves a beacon. Unfortunately, I have no beacon base to put it on, so I think the next thing I'm going to do before ending off today's episode, despite having no idea how long this episode is, I'm sorry if it's either short or long, I've entirely lost track, I have too many clips. But I'm going to go on a quick mining trip and see if I can get mainly a bunch of coal and iron, because that's the stuff I'm really low on. Copper, I have more than I need, but I'm sure I'll still probably come back with about this much. I am now back from my mining trip, and this is everything I've got. I was really hoping for more iron than this. I might have to do some more caving in between episodes, but we got plenty of coal, which is great because I was getting really low on that. Of course, lots of copper, a little bit lapis, redstone, gold, emeralds, diamonds, the usual, and then a couple of fancies from some spawners I found. So all in all, not too bad. But anyway guys, this is where we're going to have to say goodbye for today's episode, so I really hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you ever so much for doing that, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.